30-yard line. It is 4 p.m. Eastern Time, which means it's time for the Audible. Thank you for watching Sportsbook Review. I'm here with my guys, Donnie, RightSide, and the Whale Capper, ready to break down all these games, take a look at the moves we've already made, and talk about our record thus far. You may notice I'm wearing my Warren Moon jersey again. 5-3 last week. I won't take this bad boy off till I have a losing week. Whatever it takes to be plus units, which I'm still far from. Let's introduce the guys. Donnie, RightSide, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Love working with you Friday afternoon. Football Friday, as you call it. How you doing today?
Doing good, man. Tons of information coming out today. Who's in, who's out, lines on the move. We got a lot to cover today, but that's what we do right here on the Audible.
That is what we do right here on the Audible with these great cappers in the chat. Whale Capper's on a heater. 12 of his last 14 casheroos for the Whale Capper. How you doing on this Friday afternoon, my man?
At this point, I'm doing wonderful, man. This is the best time of year to be a sports fan, to be a handicapper, to be a gambler. This is where it's at, man. And even though MLB playoffs may be currently going on, it really does not stack up to NFL whatsoever. So I'm pretty excited to get this handicap, this show on the road here, and little nervous. This heater, a little ready for some regression. Do not like how the market reacted to some of my plays this week, so I could be in for a tough weekend.
Well, I got a sneak peek at your action, and there's some big old money lines, some big plus lines that are very exciting, very exciting. Shout out to all the cappers in the chat. We have nothing without you guys. TJ Parks, Dennis Garcia, Robert Weimer. Robert Weimer's been such a leader in the chat throughout this show, making sure he has this time off of work, this hour and a half to cap with us. Love it, Robert Weimer. Brandon Lugo, Oscar Valverde, Vincente Ramirez. And as we got Sean Mick, Nutflush Allen, Mr. Wims. Gas Station Sushi says, what was Wales' record last week? I'll tell you, it was 5-2. It was 5-2. And we're going to put up our records right now. He's been very hot lately. There's Joe Yurkovich in the house. Nicholas Vasilak ready to get to work. Michael S. Brendan W. D.T. Doug said, I cut my gym session short to watch this show. I have not seen a gym in almost 2 years, D.T. Doug, so you're a better man than me. Buffo on the beat. We got Bill Butler. Bill Butler came on my show last night, gave out all Cooper Kupp props, had a parlay prop for over 100 yards, had 100 yards was one, and then one was over 7 catches and a touchdown parlay plus 364. He was eating. And our guy, I think of Buffalo on the beat, Bill Butler. It's the king of props. Here he is with us. Comic Ricky ready to go. Macaroon 99, Cherrigan Abendrasu, Eddie Euler. What a great group. There's Viper, NB, Silver, Malcolm Rodza, Wacky. What a great group. Brad Hansen, Anna Merrick, Alex Ramirez, Willie, Marco Turi, Frank Palma, Long Balls, Larry. We got Brody, Aaron, maybe, Chot Wham. Let's get to work, but let's first look at this record. All right. Oh, God.
Because happens.
Oh, God.
It happens.
Oh, God.
It happens.
All right, well, not double-digit units down. I am a minus 25.50 ROI. I do have an 85% ROI in NHL, but it's only been 48 hours long. Okay, let's get to work right now. We're going to start with a play that I am on. Steelers plus 3.5. I like this spot very, very much. Pittsburgh 14 sacks through 4 weeks, created 9 takeaways. This defense is for real. Minkah Fitzpatrick helps so much. Am I dealing with a recency bias because I cashed with them on Monday? Maybe. Is this a recency bias because I watched the Ravens get torn up by the Browns? Or do I think Earl Thomas doesn't care that much about football and it was a terrible signing? He doesn't chase Nick Chubb. He gets in a fight with Brandon Williams on the sidelines. Look, I don't like Mason Rudolph, but I like the Steelers at home. I like getting the 3.5. Donnie, RightSide, I'm on the Steelers plus 3.5. What do you think, Ravens, Steelers?
It'll be interesting in this one because we're trying to factor in to see who the Ravens actually are at this point, able to, clown some bad football teams, but then get clowned themselves when they step up in competition. It's going to be a big game here in the AFC. Now, looking towards what you like about this football game, maybe what you don't like about this football game, I think Lamar Jackson's going to be able to put up some points. But the thing that I'm really interested to see is, you saw an offense last week with a lot of training wheels with Mason Rudolph, a lot of underneath routes. Cincinnati saying, you're not going to beat us deep. We'll give you whatever you want underneath. And he had a pretty high completion percentage and certainly factored in by following through with exactly what the coaches told him. Hey, don't turn the football over. Take what they give you. He did exactly that, which is something to look forward to. We'll see how healthy Connor is for this football game. I do think there is going to be some points to be had in this game because if we're looking from a Baltimore perspective, this defense that we're used to for the Baltimore Ravens certainly isn't there. They can be had by the run. They can be had in the air. And I'm looking forward to Mason Rudolph to trying to push the football down the field, where I said last week in Cincinnati, just looking to take the underneath stuff. Now I think he'll be able to step it up and really push it downfield. I don't necessarily like a side in this game. If I did like a side, I would be leaning towards the Baltimore Ravens. But I got a sneaky suspicion here that there's going to be some points here that maybe we didn't anticipate. I think the game goes over the total here, Jimmy.
Interesting. Thinks it goes over the total at 44. The team is building. We got Christopherson, Lim, Maxwell Smart, Frank Palma, Farsha Asami, Aloha, Isai Rolla. I haven't seen him in too long. So great to see you. Miles House, Ski Profit. The team is coming together. And Robert Weimer says, like the Steelers here also, I think they finally woke up last week and the Ravens aren't as good as their first couple of weeks indicated. Whale Capper, make me question everything.
So, first of all, welcome to everybody. We got a full house today. This is awesome. And I am on the Ravens at -3.5, so a little head-to-head here with you, Jimmy. And it's for a lot of the reasons that both you and Donnie brought up there. Number one, I think there will be points here for the Ravens. I think the Steelers' defense is pretty fraudulent. I think, what Lamar Jackson can do well plays pretty well into really putting a hurting on this team. I don't think, they have some good coverage in the sort of the short intermediate range. That's not really where he makes most of his hay anyway. He likes to hit you down the seams. He likes to shoot downfield. And their cornerbacks don't really have that type of coverage. So I think Lamar Jackson is going to look a lot better in this game than what we saw last couple of weeks. And, last week, I was on the Browns. I thought that was a reasonable letdown spot for the Ravens. The Ravens left it all out on the field against the Chiefs. They took that game super seriously. They played extremely hard. And then the fact that they would have, a letdown the following week, thinking that they could just get a win against the Browns, perhaps even looking forward to this game, their hated rival Steelers. I would expect that you see a much more complete performance out of the Ravens than what you saw last week versus the Browns. And the Steelers on a Monday night on a short week with a young, quarterback up against a much tougher test as far as the defense goes. They absolutely had training wheels on him last week. It was dink and dunk city. There was nothing pushed down the field at all. And if they get behind in this one, if Lamar Jackson can strike quickly early, I think the Steelers are in for a long day.
Well, that does concern me. Bleds W says, can you ask Whale Capper about the total in the Pitt game? Open at 42.5, now at 44. Donnie RightSide liking points here. Do you like points as well?
If I was going to look for a total, I would zero in on the Ravens team total as opposed to look for the game total to go over. I think the Ravens defense was pretty much embarrassed now 2 weeks in a row. But they do have the means and the players and the personnel to limit the tackle a hell of a lot better than the Bengals did. And so you could see a tough time here where the Steelers end up around 17, 20 points, which would make the full game total a little bit tougher to come by. And I'm also seeing a potential game script play out here where the Ravens can get out to a lead and, with their ability to run as effectively with all the pieces they have in the running game, I could see a scenario where you see a shorter second half with a little bit of ball control offense by the Ravens, a little bit of keep away, and don't really let the Steelers get into a rhythm.
Predictions guy says Ravens team total good angle. Brent Hunt, yeah, Ravens team total is sharp. Farsha Asami with me on the Steelers plus 3.5. Jojo Rich, my guy, says Ravens here, but 2.5. Not liking the 3.5. Let's keep rolling. Let's cross the pond. Bears Raiders in England. Donnie brought up on my Betting with the Bag show this morning that our Khalil Mack, 17 sacks, 10 forced fumbles, 27 combined sacks and forced fumbles, more than the entire Raiders defense since the move was made. The entire Raiders defense, 18 sacks, 8 forced fumbles, but Josh Jacobs is one of those draft picks that they got 307 yards, 2 TDs, 3 catches for 57 yards, leads all rookies in yards from scrimmage after 4 weeks. And then we have Chase Daniel making his 3rd start in 2 seasons. He looked pretty good. 22 of 30, 195 yards, 10-yard touchdown to Tariq Cohen. He's 53 of 76 for 515 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks in 2 starts last season. A win at Detroit, a loss at the Giants. And Gruden, this clown. I mean, I don't understand how dumb you have to be for some of these quotes. Gruden said, I learned a valuable lesson last year when they arrived in London 48 hours before the game. Said we needed to get a little more time to get acclimated. I'm used to playing home games at home, so I made a mistake and tried to correct it this year. Hopefully it shows on the field. This guy's getting $10 million a year, and he doesn't understand if you fly to the UK, you might need a little time to get acclimated. Jesus. This guy is an idiot. This guy is so stupid. Donnie RightSide, take it away. Bears Raiders.
You know what? As the week goes on later and later, Jimmy, and we always have I at least have the moniker here. I like to bet the Bears because who doesn't like to lean on the best defense in the NFL? But what do you get out of the quarterback situation? I talked about it earlier on your show as well. They're technically not better off without. Trubisky can do a lot more than Chase Daniel can do, but you think Chase Daniel can run the offense, get the ball out quickly, and do what he needs to do. The problem is I'm not really capping this game from a Bears perspective, more of an Oakland Raiders perspective and what they can do on offense. They're banged up at wide receiver. Let's just say, Williams doesn't play or J.J. Nelson doesn't play. When you look at the statistics here, through 4 games, Williams has 17 catches, 4 touchdowns, 216 yards. If he sits out, that leaves the top wide receiver, J.J. Nelson, who looks like he's possibly going to sit out as well, and he only has 36 yards. So when we're looking at a banged-up offensive line, a banged-up wide receiver core, and yes, we're going to be over in England, but it is going to be a fast track, it being on field turf, where is Oakland getting their points from? Like, we've seen the Chicago Bears line up against teams toe-to-toe and just completely dismantle them. Where is Carr going with the football to be effective with it? Tight end, I know Waller's had a pretty good start to the season, but if you could take away him with one of the fast linebacking crew that they have, I don't see Oakland getting over 14 points in this game, which leads me to believe that Chicago should be able to get into the 20s. I think Chicago covers this game just on sheer talent of defense alone. I don't know where the Oakland points are coming from with how banged up they are.
Very good points there. Our guy Paul Blakesley in the chat will be at this game on Sunday. Brody says not a fan of the side, but that over 40.5 is appetizing. Buffalo on the beat says take Bears D to score a TD. Great value. Says defenses always score in London, especially in a MAC revenge spot. Dirty Bird says I stay off all games in London. Very hard to cap that BS. Bears open up at -4.5. Now they're -5s across the board. This total opened at 41.5. Now at 40.5. Whale capper, Bears Raiders.
Okay, so I know Khalil Mack was saying, hey, it's going to be great to go up against these guys, and it's going to be a little special moment for him, I guess, to go up against his old team. But I'm not exactly getting the revenge angle. Like, he got sent to a place which is an overall better defense. He got to go to the playoffs last year. The Bears paid him handsomely. Like, I'm not exactly sure what there is to be upset or angry about with the Raiders. Like, they kind of got him out of jail. Like, that was good. So that is a little bit of a weird storyline that's been manifest this week. I agree with 100% about the Chase Daniels take that Donnie laid out there. He is a limited quarterback. I don't think that he should be expected to, cover 5 points. That looks like an awfully rich line. And then when you look specifically at the travel angle, the fact that the Raiders went directly from Indianapolis to London, I think, we've seen now twice this season. Once where the Niners stayed in Ohio to prep for the Bengals, once where the Saints stayed in the West Coast to prep for Seattle. When these teams go on the road and they spend a week kind of concentrated prep, really getting ready for a specific opponent in a specific game, they tend to shine in all three aspects of the game. So I'm expecting a pretty complete effort here from the Raiders. The points about the wide receivers missing for Oakland is a little spooky, I will admit. But I will say that the Raiders just prepped for basically Chicago light opening week in when they were preparing for the Denver Broncos, and they completely neutralized that pass rush. And in fact, Carr really is most susceptible when you can come at him up the middle. And Bears may be without Akeem Hicks, even if Akeem Hicks is out there. he's potentially a little bit limited, a little bit slower. Their interior, guard and center play has been pretty damn good, and Oakland's got to be feeling pretty confident about themselves, having just come off a pretty tough, hard-fought win against the Colts last week. So I think this is a good little spot to take a heavy-duty money line here on the Raiders. Crazy things happen, and the fact that they've been in London prepping all week, I think makes them live in this one. And at plus, 2-1 money line price, I couldn't stay away. So I'm looking for Raiders to shock the UK and pull off an upset here against the Bears.
The first big plus money line of our season. All right, so we're week 5 here, and that's the first big plus money line of the season. The Raiders in England from Whale Capper. Whale Capper, this total sitting at 40.5. If you had a free play, would you take the over or the under?
I would probably look for an under here, and only because I expect that most of if it goes my way, if this is dictated by the Raiders, in terms of, putting a little bit of pressure on the Bears, because really, I'm counting on the Raiders being able to get out early and get some points in this game. Not a lot, but 7, 10, something like that, just enough to make Chase Daniels feel like he has to come back. And I think they're, likely going to see a heavy dose of running with Josh Jacobs. You're going to see a heavy dose of quick passing attack, ball control style, dink and dunk style approach here, where they're trying to gain 4 or 5 yards per pass as opposed to really strike them and hurt them down the field. So I would expect that the game feels a little short. Even though this is on a fast surface and it's on field turf, it has never been played on before. It's relatively untested. That could make it a little slicker than expected. It could make it a little bit tougher for guys to find their footing, which may throw off a little bit of the timing in the passing game for both sides here. So I would expect that this is a pretty low scoring contest, and I think the Raiders have just enough to eke it out.
Sean Mick says ballsy Whale Capper. Robert Weimer says Raiders making a shocker 2 weeks in a row. Buffalo on the Beat says Khalil Mack will be dancing on your bet's grave, Mr. Whale Capper. Haunting from Buffalo on the Beat. Let's go over the Cardinals, Bengals. Total opens up at 48, now 47.5 across the board, although it's 47 at Bovada. Cincinnati opens up -4, now -3. Well, Kingsbury or Taylor will get a chance to finally celebrate an inaugural victory as an NFL head coach. Cardinals, Bengals lead the league in sacks allowed. Both offensive lines have been trash, not giving their quarterbacks any time to do anything. Cardinals will be missing Christian Kirk. Kirk was leading the team with 24 catches. They already lost receiver John Ross with a severe shoulder injury in the Pittsburgh game. He's on the injured reserve. A.J. Green will miss his 5th game with an ankle injury. Who's catching? Who's Dalton throwing to? Nobody. If you look at what's going on with Kyler Murray, he looks okay. David Johnson looks okay catching passes out of the backfield, but he's not running for anything. 11 carries for 40 yards last week, 11 carries for 37 yards the week before in the loss to the Panthers. Donnie, RightSide, Cardinals, Bengals.
Laundry list of injuries on both sides here. So we're taking a look at the game. Cincinnati coming down a little bit, looking around that 3 range, over under 47.5. And typically, if we would have came into this game and said, I'm going to get a healthy John Ross, forget A.J. Green, he's been out the whole year, but a healthy Ross, maybe a healthy Kirk, you could see both of these offenses moving the football against both of these defenses. But again, it gets back to are we just going to go to the ground? We're going to hand off to, because I think both the best players in this game both play running back for each team. And you got a young quarterback. We say it every week. I hope Arizona gets a win, so I don't have to say the same thing. A coach that has never won a football game in the NFL, a quarterback that's never won a football game in the NFL. But then you could translate it over to the Cincinnati side and say, all right, well, Andy Dalton, what have you done this year? And your head football coach hasn't won a single game in the NFL either. This is a complete stay-away game. They're injured. They stink. Is it the team who fumbles last loses in this one? If I had like you always like to tell me, Jim, if you have a free play, what would you do? I would lean on the under because I don't know who's scoring here. I don't know what's going on.
I am interested in the under, but I get that sentiment. Robert Weiner has the exact same thing, says, what a crap show of a game. I'm staying away, far away. Predictions guy says Cardinals in the over. Says I fade Cincy. Michael S. on Arizona +3. I actually almost made a move on Arizona +3.5 a few days ago and stopped myself. Was like, just wait. Why are you making moves on these terrible, terrible football teams? Aaron maybe said Arizona should get off this game. Good matchup with the Bengals' trash defense. Buffalo on the Beat says, I'm betting the farm on David Johnson over on rushing yards, receptions, and receiving yards. Says, trust me on this one. Whale Capper, Cardinals, Bengals.
Yeah, this is a garbage game. And the only thing I'll kind of be a little aware of as far as the under goes is like garbage games like this have garbage points all the time. Both of these defenses absolutely stink. I would expect, and we've seen, Arizona's defense has zero ability to cover the tight end, and Andy Dalton can hit his guys. He has a couple of weapons at the tight end position. You'll probably see 2 tight ends on the field a lot for the Bengals. And if you were a DFS player, if you're looking in the props, I would look at Bengals tight ends because I think they're live to go over. Similarly, the Bengals defense was tackling extremely poorly through this first quarter of the season. The performance they put together on Monday night was so bad from a tackling standpoint. I don't think I've seen college teams tackle that poorly in a while. So I would expect David Johnson has a hell of a day here from a DFS standpoint, from a prop standpoint, and I would think that if you are considering laying the points with either of these teams against any opponent, you need to have your head checked. Like, neither of these teams should legitimately be favored by a field goal. And that said, if you showed me like, okay, you have a free play, you can have +3 on either of these teams in this game, I'm still saying no. I think I'll find another game on the card because this is exactly set up the way Donnie said it. Whoever makes the last mistake probably loses, and this is an easy one for me to skip.
An easy one for me to skip as well now. So I've taken off the lean to the under and the lean to the Cards +3.5, even though it couldn't even get 3.5 anymore. Comic Ricky says it best when he says, this game deserves no attention. Let's move to Jaguars, Panthers right now. Jacksonville, Carolina. Total opens up at 41, now 40. Carolina opening up at -3, now -3.5. Minshew, sprained knee, expected to start. Highest quarterback rating, 106.9 of any rookie in the first 4 games in the Super Bowl era. Has the NFL highest rated Q. He is the NFL highest rated QB in the red zone this season. 8 of 11, 57 yards, 5 TDs, 0 picks. Both quarterbacks are getting nice support from the running game. McCaffrey leading the NFC. Leonard Fournette leading the AFC. Carolina getting a ton out of Mario Addison. Ron Rivera defensive scheme working out well for Addison. I liked the under, and I like the Jaguars +3.5, and I've not made moves on either of those. I've only made 2 moves on this card, and we'll get to those games. Both new quarterbacks have injected a ton of life into their team. There's no doubt about it. We don't expect Jalen Ramsey to be playing. He said dealing with his back injury his whole career. Donnie RightSide, Jaguars, Panthers, are you making a move?
No, I haven't made it. I don't think, actually, you know what? I'm going to double check here in a second, but I like where you're at on this side, Jimmy, because I think it's one of those football games that we talked about it earlier and also on Tuesday's Audible show. When we're taking a look at this game overall, I think it's going to be a close game either way. And if you're going to sit on 3.5, that could be decisive at this point because we're taking a look at 2 good defenses. It's amazing. Like sometimes the Carolina defense, you sort of take out and say, we're really trying to factor in Cam and how the offense does. Their defense has been sensational this season, but also I can't leave out what's going on because I usually like to knock rookie quarterbacks, but we're taking a look at Minshew on the road within a 2-point conversion of beating the Houston Texans in a tough spot to be on your first start on the road in the NFL as a rookie. And then you go on the road and you play in elevation. You're getting your guys' head stomped in. Joe Flacco opened the door a little bit, but you still have to come through that door with some ammunition. And they were wonderful in the second half with Gardner Minshew. Made every single play he needed to win for his team to win on that day. Kudos to him. Now he's going to go into a tough environment heading into this week. We talked about Jalen Ramsey, which is hilarious. You actually have a superstar player that you don't want for Jacksonville. You already said as much by not paying the guy at top of his position. Tell him to go pound sand, and people are offering you 2 first-round picks, and you're going to say no to that. I can't wait for 3 weeks or right at the trade deadline when Jalen Ramsey is getting fire sold for like a 3rd-round draft pick, and we can all laugh at Tom Coughlin again. That's going to be a key. It would have been really nice to have Ramsey either last week if you were betting with the Jacksonville Jaguars or this week with the Jaguars, but I see this as a lower-scoring game, 1-possession game, and if that's going to be the case, Jimmy, I'll take the 3.5 in this ball game. I like where your head's at there.
Makes sense to me. Taking the Jaguars +3.5, as long as Minshew, his sprained knee doesn't affect him too much and he can make it through the whole game. Whale Capper, Jaguars, Panthers.
This is a really tough one with these 2 quarterbacks we don't really know a heck of a lot about. I know that there's a lot of public momentum right now for how great Minshew's been playing. He's a character, he's inspiring, he's fun, and I think that's influencing a little bit of kind of rosy glasses here with the Jacksonville Jaguars, because they are missing some pieces. Jalen Ramsey is a huge. You really would like to have him out there for this type of contest, because I completely agree with Donnie. This is going to be a low-scoring game. This is going to be a ball, field position, do not make a mistake type of game. And I would lean Panthers if anything in this, because I got to agree with Donnie again. The Panthers defense has been wildly, wildly impressive. Like, I did not have a ton of respect for this unit coming into the season. They gave up 30 points in week 1 to the Rams, and I was like, yeah, they're not that good. But then since then, they have just been solid week in, week out. Everybody is, they're coached well. They are schemed well. North Turner's doing a nice job of, making his young, inexperienced quarterback, look good and not make mistakes out there. So I think the Panthers are very, very frisky, at least in this kind of muddy NFC South. And I think they get this win. Whether or not it's by 3.5, I can't tell you. So I'm staying away from this one.
A lot of people backing Carolina in the chat. In fact, I don't see anybody saying the Jags. Brendan W. Panthers all day. And Neil Frank, Carolina minus 3.5. Wow. Everybody here. Oh, Farshad, my guy Farshad Asami saying Jacksonville team coming alive. Jacksonville plus 3.5. Eddie Orler leading plus 3.5 too. Okay, Brent Hunt saying Carolina going to roll Minshew. So there are a few people backing this Jacksonville team. Robert Weimer says Carolina for me. This is a bad spot for Blue Chew. I like the under more. Clint Richardson liking the under as well. MWMS. M-Wims says no Ramsey, no problem. Panthers all the way. Brent Hunt says Panthers gonna roll. All right, let's move on to Vikings Giants. Let's see what we're dealing with here in Minnesota, New York. Open at 5, now 5.5 at Pinnacle and 5.5 at Bet Online, but 5 everywhere else. It's total open at 44.5, now at 43.5. Mike Zimmer gonna face his former offensive coordinator. First time he's going to face him since Pat Shurmur left to become the head coach of the Giants. Vikings coming off that 16-6 loss. Ugly stuff. Daniel Jones has taken over. New York averaging 28 points and has converted 14 of 26 third down chances with Daniel Jones. 31 points combined in the first 2 games and was 5 of 23 on first downs, and everything changed when Daniel Jones came behind center. Kevin Stefanski, whom Shurmur tried to bring with him to the Giants but was blocked by Zimmer, has done terrible work with this Vikings team. I mean, Dalvin Cook looks great, but look at Kirk Cousins, 88.6 passer ranking, 23rd in the league, 7.4 yards, average per throw, ranked 16th. Giants are going to get Golden Tate back. So Evan Ingram's rolling, Shepard looks good, and now they get Golden Tate back. Tate. Giants come into the game ranked 19th against the run. They are thin at linebacker. Cousins leads the NFL with 46 fumbles since the beginning of 2015, 6 fumbles in the first 4 games of the season. A lot of those stats would make you think that I might take the Giants here. And in fact, I do kind of lean towards them, but there's no way I'm taking them, because we know one thing about Cousins, and that's he beats up on shitty teams and he loses to good teams. He took a beating on Sunday against the Bears, 51 yards on 6 sacks, 2 fumbles, only one in it resulted in turnover. He's going to have a much easier time with the Giants. He probably rolls, but at this point, I'm staying off this game. Donnie, right side, Vikings, Giants.
I think we're going to get some points in this game, and I think it's going to be a pretty good spot for Minnesota to try to get right and head into the second part of their schedule. I'm still debating on which side actually, outside of the total, just picking a side is the better way, because if we're looking at just talent for talent, I mean, the Vikings absolutely blow the doors off the New York Giants. If we're looking at coaching staffs that can be schemed, you can say what you want about the offensive coordinator for the Vikings, but Mike Zimmer is going to be drawing up a defense to go against a rookie quarterback. But putting that all in a mold, if we take a look at a couple different ways, looking at a team total perspective for Minnesota, 23.5 are out there, 24s are out there, I believe that's going to take place, because the one thing I do like is striking while the iron's hot, because most people are going to say, Minnesota, Kirk Cousins, they stink. I would never take a look at a total. I don't want anything to do with them. But you have to look where styles make fights. Yeah, Kirk Cousins is going to stink against the Bears. I understand that. You're taking a look now at the New York Giants, and people will say the last thing they saw, hey, the Giants really came around against the Washington. The Washington Redskins are completely inept on offense and just playing musical chairs at quarterback. You have to take that game a little bit out of context. You know what games I like to take a look into context? Where you don't have a huge explosive offense like the Buffalo Bills. Let's take a look week 2 when the Buffalo Bills went in to play the New York Football Giants. They had a touchdown drive of 70 yards. They had a touchdown drive of 75 yards. Oh, yeah, they had another touchdown drive of 75 yards. And my favorite one, a touchdown drive of 98 yards. The Buffalo Bills don't have nearly the weapons or the explosiveness of what the Minnesota Vikings have. You say, well, Donnie, hey, Kirk Cousins playing really bad football. You're going to play really bad football when you're getting bared down by Khalil Mack and that defense. This is one of those where I love, where you have that kumbaya moment in the locker room where quarterbacks are apologizing to wide receivers. Stephon Diggs is the ultimate deep weapon. He gets paid a lot of money. He's really unhappy with what's taking place in the locker room. So what are you going to do in this game against a really poor defense? Let's throw 6, 7, 8, 9 deep balls in this to see if we can stretch out. And oh, by the way, it's not a bad option when you're handing the football off to Dalvin Cook. I think the Minnesota Vikings get over 24 points in this game. So if I like them getting over 24, Daniel Jones as well. Look at the games that he's played in. 32 points versus Tampa Bay, 24 versus Washington, threw for 225 yards last week. The week before when he played Tampa Bay, over 300 yards. Every time Daniel Jones is in the game, the offense looks crisp. I don't need him to do a lot, just need him to score a little bit. I think the game goes over the total, and I think the Minnesota Vikings get over their 24 as well.
I think this over is very appealing after that breakdown. Dennis Garcia says, this is a get-right game for mini offense. Lean over. Agreeing with everything Donnie is saying. Whale Capper, Vikings, Giants.
Yeah, I'm with you. That this is a spot for the Vikings to get right. There's a lot of teams in the NFL we really don't know what their identity is. It changes week to week, but the Vikings are not one of those teams. We know what this team is. We know that they have a defense that is solid, that is going to make it very, very, very tough for a young quarterback to make good reads and to move the ball without turning it over or without making mistakes or without being confused. That I think sets up well for the Minnesota defense to have a great performance on Sunday. And on the other side of the ball, the Minnesota Vikings offense is going up against one of the weakest defenses that they've faced to this point in the season. And Kirk Cousins is going to have, guys that are wide open down the field. Dalvin Cook is going to have, all kinds of, yards after contact because the linebacking core for the Giants is completely depleted. And I would expect that Minnesota pretty much picks their number here. I like the look on Minnesota, team total over on points. I could even see some defensive scores for this unit. And I think, by and large, the Vikings, cover this number relatively easily. I bet this earlier in the week when it was at 4.5. I sold up to 5.5, thinking that this was going to get bet up to 6, 6.5. Not 100% sure I understand why there's market resistance here. Who's running to the window to bet the Giants? This is a really tough spot for Daniel Jones. Obviously, he's done well to this point in the season, but he's gone up against the Redskins secondary and the Tampa Bay Bucks secondary. This is an entirely different animal with the Minnesota Vikings, especially in terms of their ability to disguise what their coverages are and really confuse a young quarterback. So this is a nice spot here for Minnesota to get right. And I feel like we're getting a pretty fair price at -5, -5.5 still.
Tom Marino on the Vikings first half as well at -3. Everything you guys are saying makes sense. And I can't let the disaster of last week against the Bears influence me too much when this will be a much easier spot. Let's go to Patriots at Redskins. I had interest in the under. I missed the spot. The market's been moving quick on the under. Started at 45.5, now at 42. I'm not going to reach. 41.5 at Heritage. I'm not going to reach for it. New England opened up at -14 and now -15 at some books, 15.5, 16 at some books. And Colt McCoy looks like he will be getting the start now on Sunday. New England allowing 6.8 points per game. Redskins allowing 29.5 per game. No Gostkowski. He's being placed on IR. They signed Mike Nugent to replace him. Redskins are just in a mess. So we know that they're without Trent Williams holding out. Then Brandon Scherf with the ankle injury. Chase Roulier with the knee injury. Redskins averaging 17 rush attempts. That's the fewest in the NFL. They're 31st in average gain per carry at 2.9. Adrian Peterson, 90 yards on 33 carries. We should have taken the Patriots at 14 if you wanted them, but after seeing what a mess this Redskins team is, should you take the Patriots now, or do you have some hope in Colt McCoy? Donnie, RightSide, Patriots, Redskins.
You know, it's funny because Colt McCoy's coming off, horrendous injury in the offseason, hasn't had any time basically to get ready to compare. And they're like, hey, prepare. And they're going to just throw him out there. And I got to say, he's still their best option. He's a better option than Haskins is. He's a better one than Case Keenum is. So I think you're going to get some competent quarterback play, but it all comes back like competent quarterback play for what? Who's at wide receiver? Nothing. Who's at tight end? We're all hurt. Offensive line, half of them sitting out. And then, you're going to play one of the elite defenses in the NFL with Tom Brady. The only question here is, man, we're seeing some ridiculous lines. I mean, New England is on the road again, favored by double digits, over 2 touchdowns versus Washington. It's hard to wrap your head around and say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to lean on the home team. They're getting too many. But I can see this game the same way I keep explaining New England, the slow burns, the 3-0, the 10-0, the 13-0, the 20-0, the 23-0 as it goes. The only question I keep getting back to is New England going to be bored at the end of this football game? But then again, being bored, it's not like being favored by 3 touchdowns. They still have to win by 2 touchdowns plus in this game. I don't have a side either way, but I have to tell you, sort of a little piquing my interest. I know how poorly Washington played on offense, but that's a direct derivative to have 2 quarterbacks that just aren't very good. If Colt McCoy comes back and gives them anything, I actually think the over might be a little bit of a look, because I think New England, or I should say, I guarantee New England is going to be in the high 20s, maybe touching 30s. Just need a little bit out of Washington in the fourth quarter to try to get something going. I think they can do it. I think they can hit the total in this game, Jimmy.
Well, Eddie Euler, like the Redskins team total under 13.5. I was on the Jets under 10.5, and their offense put up 0 points, and I lost that team total. These are dangerous team totals. Capper John says, Pats are trying to get in and out, getting ready for Thursday night against the Giants. There's a reason why I haven't taken the Patriots at this point, and a lot of what is being said here in the chat and what Donnie just said is part of it. I mean, the Patriots just need to get a win second straight week on the road. Whale Capper, Patriots, Redskins.
I'm on the under here. I got it earlier in the week when it was, a little bit more bettable number. Down at 41, it's still probably the right side, but it's a hell of a lot tighter. I think the Patriots win this game. I think they cover this game. I didn't make a play on it, but I don't see any way that the Redskins stay competitive. And we talked when we previewed the NFC East in the preseason. We were thinking, okay, a lot of handicapping the Redskins this season is going to be figuring out what Jay Gruden needs to do to keep from getting fired. Well, he's completely flipped the script on that, and he's legitimately trying to get fired now. Like, his actions last week were outrageous. I cannot believe what he did in that game last week. He went through a full week of leaks coming out, front office putting pressure on him. He's not getting Haskins enough snaps in practice with the first team. He's not developed. The management and the owner is upset about him not developing Haskins. And what does he do? He pulls Case Keenum through a couple of series, throws Haskins to the Wolves with no prep, with no game-specific plan for him, and absolutely embarrasses the kid. He throws 3 picks. He has him pushing, aggressively down the field, trying to come back in that game. And it was a total disaster. And if I'm Washington ownership, like, that is the sign, like, okay, this guy wants to get fired now. And the fact that they're having this weird standoff all week about who's going to be the quarterback, we don't know. We don't have a plan. Oh, it's going to be Colt McCoy. Yeah, Colt McCoy might be the best quarterback if you have 3 healthy quarterbacks and an offensive line and a set of weapons, and they've all been getting good practice reps and they're all, perfectly healthy. Colt McCoy hasn't taken a snap this season. He didn't take a snap all preseason. They bungled his injury last year. I have no clue what to expect out of him. I would not be surprised at all if this is a shutout waiting to happen. I think team total under for the Redskins is probably going to be around 13.5. That's going to be ridiculously high. I think the Patriots defense on the other side of the ball from them, this is the toughest defense in the NFL right now. They're the most complete defense top to bottom. I know that they haven't played anyone good, and so we may be inflating a little bit how good, maybe thinking a little bit that they're better than they are. But I got to tell you, man, the way they cover and the way that they're built to kind of rotate pass rushers in, and the speed that they have in their linebacking core now is just outstanding. And they're going to be able to absolutely squash this Redskins team. And the only thing that I'm afraid about is I think I'm on under 43.5 was the biggest. Once the limits kind of went up a little bit, I got on 43.5 was my biggest play on this one. And the only thing I'm a little scared of is the Patriots somehow wind up at 44.
Yeah, I hear that. Tomarino Tomar says, I think Pat's offense shows up. Brady off one of the worst games of his career. Dean Lauder says, I don't see how Washington stays close in this game. Wow. Eddie Ola says, Redskins score 3 on the Giants. I'm banking New England can hold them under 13.5. Let's move on to Jets, Eagles. Total opened up at 44.5, now 43.5. Eagles open at minus 14. You can still get a 14 at bookmaker, but 14.5 at most books here. Jets are off of a bye and down to their number 3 quarterback. Falk went 12 of 22, 98 yards in his NFL starting debut. That was that 30-14 loss to New England. He goes for 98 yards. The offense puts up 0 points, and I don't cash the under 10.5. I'm still angry. Wentz goes for 160 yards last game, but threw 3 touchdowns, 113.2 passer rating, and got them the win. C.J. Mosley expected to miss his 3rd straight game while dealing with a groin injury. They have injuries all over the place. Jenkins, Demaryius Thomas, Trenton Cannon, and the Eagles secondary is a mess. Maddox, Darby are out or likely out. Sidney Jones uncertain. Deshaun Jackson likely going to miss his 3rd straight game. Donnie can give us the update with what's going on really with the Eagles injuries here. And Darnold tried to come back but is not coming back. It's a low total, but do the Eagles want to run up the score? I mean, I still think the under is appealing at 43.5, but I have yet to make a move here. Jets at Eagles. Donnie, right side.
Yeah, it's actually a shame that Sam Darnold's not going to be in this game, because this might have been a little bit of viable advantage to take a look at an over, because I do think the Eagles, without Deshaun Jackson, they should be able to I don't want to say name their number like they're going to put up 40 points in this game, but I think they should be able to cruise. This is one of those games as fans where you show up at the stadium and you tailgate, and nobody's actually really talking about the game itself, because it's a foregone conclusion that the Eagles should run away with this football game. But looking at it, you could take a look at 2 different stances, right? We know the Philadelphia Eagles, they're really down in the secondary. When you want to put away teams, when you're laying more than 2 touchdowns, you want a prolific pass rush, which the Eagles don't have right now, or you want a set of cornerbacks and DBs that can really limit everything that's going on out on the field. Now, we know the Philadelphia Eagles barely hanging on at cornerback, but the same thing comes in is, can they even exploit it with the New York Jets coming into this game? Now, the first 3 games, Buffalo, good defense, Cleveland, good defense, and New England, good defense. So it's not exactly like they were playing some cream puffs and not doing anything on offense, but it's kind of interesting that you see a team coming off of the bye still as injured as the New York Jets are. I think the Eagles walk away with the victory. I won't be playing either side on a total. I was actually hoping that Sam Darnold pulled off the miracle, because if he's playing, not to say he's going to dominate the Philadelphia Eagles, but I think there would have been a little bit more structure. I think they would have at least got 14, 17 points on the board, and the Eagles would have did their part in taking the over. It's really hard to bet. I mean, you guys have watched the Jets out there on offense. They are horrific on offense. I'm not even so sure a bad set of cornerbacks or a low pass rush can even keep them from scoring even 10 points in this game. It'll be interesting to watch. I think the Eagles win comfortably, but I'm not going to lay over 2 touchdowns with the Eagles or even mess with the over-under in this game, Jimmy.
Yeah, I can understand why you'd be hesitant for sure. Keith Sadler now says, finally finished my pick 6. Big week for me. Time to fight back. Those of you who aren't in the pick 6, $50,000 pick 6 contest here at Sportsbook Review, you can come in anytime. We give out $1,600 a week, $1,600 a week for this contest. Putting in the link right there. Still jump in. Nothing wrong with getting in late. Whale Capper, Jets, Eagles.
Yeah, I don't think Donnie is the only Philadelphian who's sad that Darnold won't be playing this weekend. I think there's a lot of people in the city of Philadelphia who wanted to see if the Eagles defense could kill a guy on the field, and so good for Darnold. He lives another week. And Adam Gase, imagine having an entire week of prep because you get an early bye week, and you consistently start a guy who's a borderline, coin flip. Maybe he'll be ready, maybe he won't. And you don't give any first team reps to your backup quarterback. And now all of a sudden, after 2 weeks of preparation for this team, you now have to go and change your script, change your plan, throw a guy out there who hasn't been getting the practice reps in Luke Falk. And, this is a complete and total throwaway now for the Jets. They're looking forward to next week when they likely will have Darnold back. I think the under is a very solid look here. I think this is, this game sets up well for, Philadelphia to go out there and get like a 21-3, 24-3 kind of a lead and then just kind of sit on it and put this game away. I think at 43.5, this is bettable number for the under. And I wouldn't lay 14 points in this spot with Philadelphia because there could be some garbage points. It could be a garbage backdoor here from the Jets. I could see a scenario where we have, it's 21-3, and the next thing you look up and it's 21-17 or something like that, or 21-14. So this is the potential for some sort of nasty backdoor with guys like Bell and Robbie Anderson still trying to look to get stats in this game. So this is an under spot if it's anything.
I think I may make a move on this under. It's getting more and more appealing as we talk about it. Tom Marino says very important game for the Eagles. And they played Thursday, so they had over a week to prepare. Says that Jets' offensive line is trash. Eagles should dominate up front. Tom Marino giving a final score of something around 31-10. Now, Flush, now Alan asking what the Eagles team total over is. I will grab that in a second. But before I do, let's move on to our next spot, Buccaneers Saints. This game is the one that makes me extremely uncomfortable because opened at 4.5, now at 3. I totally understand that market move. The total at 47.5, now down to 45.5. The Buccaneers are doing nothing offensively, and Arians looks like he saved Winston's career. Saints ranked 26 in yards per game. Last Sunday, they won despite not scoring a touchdown. Evans and Godwin are monsters, just monsters. They lead the league for a receiving duo, most productive receiving duo, 20 yards more than Kelsey and Watkins. The Buccaneers defense has been strong at times. I mean, they're getting a lot out of Shaquille Barrett, Ndamukong Suh, Levante David. They're allowing just 59.3 rush yards per game. To me, that's the only thing the Saints are doing well right now with Kamara, who's such a monster. Saints ranked 20th against the run. So they're a little bit vulnerable there. And then Sheldon Rankins returns last Sunday against Dallas from the Achilles tendon tear. They allowed just 45 yards on the ground to a Cowboys team that had come in averaging 179. So now that Rankins is back, I mean, it seems like even though we just saw the Buccaneers playing a game with 95 points, that this could easily be an under game. I've made no moves on this spot. Donnie, RightSide, Buccaneers Saints.
Keep it simple. One of the philosophies I'm going to use, if my offense is absolutely horrendous, I'm not going to take it and lay more than 3 points in a football game. Now, it looks like even starting to get some 2.5, so it gets down to the point saying, ooh, really big home field advantage. They do play decent defense, and they have Alvin Kamara. Why not just roll the dice out here, especially off a big victory for when Tampa Bay goes out west and wins, and now they're going to come back and play another road game, double road game. Let's see what happens here. Jameis Winston's going to turn into Jameis Winston. We can all play those devil's advocate type situations, but it boils down to Teddy Bridgewater's a quarterback. They ain't moving the football. It's going to be a lower scoring game, and you have the weapons on the weapons on Tampa Bay that can actually move the football and be productive in this game. I'm not going to be surprised if Tampa Bay actually goes in with Jameis Winston and wins this football game. Just on the simple fact is, it's Alvin Kamara and nothing else on the island. Hey, Mike Thomas, he's a great wide receiver. Look at all the money they paid him. They don't have anybody to get the guy the football. Well, this guy would be, if he had a quarterback that could push the ball downfield who was accurate, they would be eating. New Orleans stinks on offense. I can't bet them.
I can't bet him either, and I actually think I'm probably going to just stay away completely. Tom Marino says Saints offensive line is great. Bridgewater will have time to beat Bucs secondary. I think I'm going to stay off here. Buccaneers, Saints. Whale Capper, you have a look?
Yeah, I'm staying off as well. I would lean Bucs to get the win. I would lean under with this total looking a little too high. And what is kind of stopping me, two things that are stopping me from making those plays. Number one, the Bucs secondary is gross. Teddy Bridgewater hasn't looked comfortable at all in this New Orleans offense. This isn't a surprise. They won last week without scoring a touchdown. He beat the Seahawks, convincingly on the back of defensive and special teams, making the difference in that game. So this is a lot of smoke and not a lot of substance when it comes to Teddy Bridgewater as a quarterback for the Saints. But maybe against this poor secondary, he gets a little bit going. Not a great matchup for Kamara. The run defense for the Buccaneers is legit. And not a great spot for the Bucs. This is a tough one. They just flew to the West Coast last week. They're going to London next week. Here they are, sandwiched in the middle of a tough divisional matchup against New Orleans. This is rough. If I had gotten involved earlier and gotten a better number on the Bucs, I'd probably be feeling pretty happy. But it's been bet all the way down to +3. I actually wouldn't be surprised if we wake up on Sunday and this is at 2.5. Like, there is no shortage of people who are lining up to hammer this Bucs number. And I cannot. You gave Arians credit for saving Winston's career. I'm not ready to go there at all. In fact, I would go farther and say Winston is a good quarterback. He can do things that a lot of other quarterbacks in the NFL can't. He can throw it down the field with accuracy. He can make, he has the weapons around him to absolutely thrive as a quarterback in today's version of the NFL. Where he is lacking is the entire offensive scheme around him doesn't make great decisions. Leftwich is a poor offensive coordinator. You look at 55 points last week. That was entirely propped up by the defense creating short fields and the Rams defense not even showing up for the game. So I still a little bit worried here about the Bucs and their offense and their ability to kind of put together the type of performances week in and week out that compete with the top teams in this league. And while I'm really, really, really hoping that the Bucs win this game, because I have a lot of kind of season-long liability stacked against the Saints, and Drew Brees gets hurt week 2, and I'm high-fiving people, and lo and behold, Teddy Bridgewater comes away with 2 pretty miraculous wins in the 2 starts in place of Drew Brees so far. I would really, really like to see the Saints take an L here, because it's going to be pretty sweaty if Bridgewater goes 5-1, in place of Drew Brees while not scoring an offensive touchdown.
Oh, it's wild how strong this nucleus has been, and they're winning games, and Bridgewater's just staying out of trouble. Nico liking the Bucs -3. Victor Lou says Winston torches the Saints secondary. Wow. Okay, we're going to talk more about that game. It makes me extremely uncomfortable. I'm going to stay off it. Let's go to Falcons at Texans. When I started breaking down this game, I was interested in the Texans and the team total over. Money coming in on the Falcons. The Falcons look so bad right now. It's hard to break down, to find an angle on the other side here. But that's what the betting public has been doing. This total at 49, now at 50. Houston at -5, now at -4. Texans have forced turnover 17 straight games, longest active streak in the NFL. 3 strip sacks last week, tied for second in the league with 8 forced fumbles and 5 fumble recoveries. Merciless looking very good, very good. Ryan just couldn't do anything in front of this makeshift line last week. It was just ugly. So 6-time Pro Bowl center Alex Mack out with an elbow injury. That's a huge loss. They're going to have Wes Schweitzer is going to come in under center. I mean, it just keeps getting worse and worse for this Falcons squad that just looks bad. They've lost 6 straight, 12 of 13 to AFC opponents. They failed to convert on 3 of 4 fourth down chances. They were 36% on third down. I know the Texans aren't that good of a team, but I don't know how these guys can trust the Falcons after what we've seen. Aaron maybe not afraid. He says Falcons and points, plus the points for me. Donnie, RightSide, Falcons, Texans.
Lesser of two evils is basically what you're taking a look at this. Bill O'Brien as a dog, say the same thing all the time. You know what? I might be interested in. I think they can play well. They got the athletes. They got the wide receiver. They got the quarterback that can make plays, and they have a defense that can get after the quarterback. Now, having said that, you're looking at Atlanta and say, boy, one of the softer teams that we've seen. They just don't come to play. They had a chance in their home building to try to right the season. They got run over like a Mack truck by the Tennessee Titans. We all know it's not the greatest offensive team, but certainly made them look like a fantastic team. And the sign of a team that's really in trouble is when, the Tennessee Titans put up 24 points in the first half and don't score in the second half, and they still cruise the victory, and there wasn't even a sweat in the second half. That's pretty embarrassing by Atlanta. But having said that, again, lesser of two evils. If I'm going to be laying more than 3 points, I'm automatically looking at the opposite side, maybe even a backdoor cover for Atlanta. As hard as it is to bet the Atlanta Falcons, banged up on the offensive line, the defense, as we said, one of the softer teams out here, I still look at the other side and say, you know what? There is a dumbbell on that opposite sideline that I don't think he can cover more than a touchdown or cover a touchdown victory. Give me the Atlanta Falcons in this game. And already, as we talked in the morning, Jimmy, the line shift, I'm watching this all week like 5. I like it. And all of a sudden, boom, we flip to 4. I completely agree. I'm not laying anything over a field goal with Bill O'Brien as my coach.
Makes sense. I mean, he's terrible. Joe Rich Ramirez says lean Atlanta, but no play. Buffalo on the streets, the safest place. Julio over 100 yards. And 1 TD. Rishi liking the over, and he's not the only one. Victor Lou liking it too, but Robert Weimer saying under looks live for this game as well. Break it down for us, Whale Capper, Falcons, Texans.
I definitely don't see an under looking live. And I mentioned in the open how I made a number of bets this week, early in the week. And the last 2 weeks, the market was right in step, right in line with me. My numbers moved in my direction, went into the weekend with all kinds of confidence. This week, it has not been that way. And this is a prime example. I have all of the love in the world for the Texans in this game. I was feeling extremely confident of all of the sides across the card. I was like, this is the spot. This is perfect. The Tennessee Titans last week against this Atlanta Falcons defense could have scored 40 points, and the Tennessee Titans have a completely broken offense. Here now, you bring in, Deshaun, you bring in Watson, you bring in Nuke Hopkins, you have Fuller healthy. Like, this is a perfect setup for the Texans to get right on offense, to call their number. They could score 40 points in this game, and I wouldn't be surprised. You brought up, new center for the Falcons. That is huge. Alex Mack has been completely revelatory for Matt Ryan's career. Like, when they brought him in, Matt Ryan all of a sudden had the comfortable feel in the pocket and was getting rhythm with his wide receivers. Now everything has gone sideways. Dan Quinn needs to get fired. The hire of Dirk Cutter in place of Steve Sarkisian was a lateral move from terrible to terrible. Like, this is a completely lost season for the Falcons and a completely broken team. And I love the Texans, and I have no idea who is out there backing up Brinks trucks and laying, and grabbing the points here with the Falcons, because they look like a dead coach walking. Team season is over. They couldn't get up at home last week against the lousy Titans, and now here they go on the road, and you got to play this dynamic offense, and you're expected to hold them down. I just don't see it happening with the injuries that they've sustained on defense to this point, and now even losing their center. So this is a spot where I think the Texans cruise to a pretty comfortable victory. I like their team total over, and I laid the points earlier in the week thinking this was going to 6, and now here I'm staring at 4, and I just can't explain it.
Very interesting, because my first looks, I was going to lock them in. I was going to lock Texans -5. In fact, I was interested in the Texans and the Chargers, and hearing Donnie liking the Broncos, I was like, oh my God, what am I missing here? And then seeing this market move towards the Falcons, and there's a long line of cappers I really respect who like the Falcons here. So it's interesting hearing you back with my side. Maybe I develop some confidence here on this spot. Okay, Falcons at Texans, tough spot. Let's go to Bills Titans. I've been looking at this under all week, regardless if Josh Allen plays, and it seems to. I get the feeling. I don't know if anyone has the most up-to-date information, because looking at what was going on in practice and him playing ping pong afterwards, all that stuff, it feels like he's going to be playing, but it doesn't matter to me. I like the under regardless, because I think Barkley can make some pick six type mistakes, and I still think it's going to be a low-scoring game. So Titans 4th in the NFL, giving up just 15.5 points a game. Bills ranked 5th, 15.8 points per game. Neither defense has allowed an opponent to score more than 20 points a game. Remember, the Bills just played the Patriots. Bills tied for the league worst with 10 turnovers, 7 interceptions. Allen's been intercepted 6 times, lost 2 fumbles. Barkley was intercepted once. This offense ranks 9th and piling up 387.3 yards per game. I mean, they look pretty good. If it wasn't for that, Lewin is back. That's something that Donnie's been talking about throughout this year, talking about these Titans. He's back now, and that's got to help Vrabel. Now, Vrabel saying that they're going to monitor him and make sure he's ready to play a full game. I mean, they need him bad in there. I'm liking the under, but I want to hear your guys' takes on it. Donnie, right side, Bills, Titans.
I agree with your underlook in this game, because, what says really going fast on offense with the Tennessee Titans? Not much. And what says really going fast and putting up a ton of points with the Buffalo Bills? Not much. You know what else is even worse? I got sometimes, like, you try to protect your young quarterbacks from themselves, where if you were going to give it up, at least Sam Darnold actually came out saying, you know what, I really want to play this weekend, but there's floating around, and I know what's on the table here, where if I get hit wrong, I could die on the football field. And I don't think Adam Gase even cared about that. It was like, oh my God, I hope they clear him. I hope they clear him. I don't care if he dies. I need him this weekend. Now we're taking a look at the Buffalo Bills situation, which, when I always talk about, boy, Josh Allen is a great quarterback to have because he's always healthy to start the football game. You don't know if he's going to finish the game, but if he does, that means he's going to run 7, 8, 9, 10 times, maybe for 50 or 60 yards. He got his block knocked off into next week, where he's not even cleared for a concussion. And what are we hearing out of the Buffalo Bills? Hey, great. If 5 minutes before the game he gets cleared, we're going to run him right out there. Congratulations. Look, he's not a quarterback that stays in the pocket. All he knows is if the play breaks down, he's running. And he had a severe concussion. There's a good chance he's going to get another one, which leads right into it. If Matt Barkley is starting, that offense is going nowhere. They're not scoring more than 14 points in that football game, which then leads me to believe that the Tennessee Titans should be able to win this football game in a low-scoring affair. I like the under, and I like the Titans. just for common sense sake, Buffalo, sit the young kid down, let him relax another week, because he's going to play the same way he always does and get a severe, or I don't know how it can be more severe than the one he just had. Titans are going to win this football game. It's going to stay under the total.
A lot of people liking the under in this spot. Eddie Euler has already locked it in. Whale Capper, Bills, Titans.
Yeah, I don't think it really matters which way the quarterback decision goes. I agree 100% with Donnie's sentiment. Don't start Josh Allen. Like, what are you doing? Like, this is a good opportunity for the organization to make the correct decision. I hope they do. But I don't think it matters. The Bills played their Super Bowl last week, and they came up short. They lost to the Patriots, and now they go on the road, and you got to go up against a full-strength team in the Titans, and you got to go up against a legitimate defense that has players at all three levels. Like, this is not a great spot for Buffalo by any stretch of the imagination. I would look for Titans to get a win here. I'm not laying the points though, and I would expect that this comes in well under the under. This was an easy one to skip. I probably, even though I'm much more of an NFL fan than an NHL fan, I would rather watch Sabres Predators than Bills Titans this week.
Yeah, I love both those two hockey teams, and I have futures on the Predators. 4-1 to win the division, 17-1 to win the cup. Picking up that guy I hate, Duchesne, he's a perfect guy. They're worst power play in the league last year. I hear what you're saying. I'm excited by both teams. I like this breakdown quite a bit. I'm going to make a move on the under and make a move soon. Let's move to Broncos Chargers. So I like the Chargers in this spot, and I guess, listening to Donnie and a couple other cappers like in the Broncos, maybe I stay off. The loss of Chubb is huge, so Melvin Gordon is now going to be in the backfield, and this Broncos defense, third worst in the NFL against the run. Fournette gashed them for 225 last week. Eckler's already looked good, fifth in scrimmage yards, 490. Broncos have thrown the ball 48.3% of the time, third lowest passing rate in the league. Chargers are 19-6 past 2 seasons under Coach Lynn in games played after September. Fangio is in for a very difficult few weeks, is the way I see it. But these Chargers have tons of injuries. Melvin Ingram already being ruled out. Mike Williams, Travis Benjamin, game time decisions. Phillip Rivers is still rolling because he's got Keenan Allen in the lineup. Keenan Allen, it's good to go. Maybe that's all you need. No Hunter Henry. So, I mean, when Hunter Henry's been out in the last year or two, they just there's no tight end passes at all. So maybe there's enough reasons to stay off this game. Donnie, Broncos, Chargers, total at 44, opening now 44.5. Chargers open at -6.5, and it's either 6.5 or 6 across the board. Donnie, Broncos, Chargers.
What's interesting about this game is this might be one of the last looks that you're going to get at the Denver Broncos, where you think you have a legitimate team with a team that's still trying to win football games as they go play the Chargers. 6.5, I took it in the pick six contest. I'm going to stick by. Reason I like this is we're taking a look at, teams that play and maybe rise up a little bit. The games that the Denver Broncos has played over the first 4 games, they've been. Look, nobody likes to lose to the Oakland Raiders, but the Oakland Raiders, I think, Whale Capper, and you can agree, Jimmy, is a pretty good spot for Oakland. You know what? AB is gone. We're in front of our home crowd. It's game 1. Let's see what we can do. They pull out the victory. But after that, I liked what I saw of the Denver Broncos. A couple bad turnovers in the Green Bay game, and as we know, they should have beaten the Chicago Bears. Time clock puts down 1 second. They end up, losing that football game on a late field goal, and they should have beaten the Jacksonville Jaguars. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. We don't actually need them to win this football game. We just need them to stay close, which they have done. And if we take a look at the Chargers and what they've been doing on the season all along, overtime game versus Indianapolis, losing to Detroit, losing to Houston, and then we all of a sudden, hey, they got right, man. They killed a football team. Well, everybody kills the Miami Dolphins. They beat them 30-10, and they're still more injured in this game. I think this is one of those last stands for the Denver Broncos, because if the Broncos lose this game and go to 0-5, we're probably looking at Emmanuel Sanders gone. We're probably looking at Chris Harris gone, maybe even Von Miller gone at that point, and a complete and total rebuild that's underway. I think you get the Broncos' last stand in this one, where they're going to be ready to play divisional game. Let's see what happens. I think they keep it close. Do I think they can win the football game? Probably not, but they'll stay within the 6.5. I like Denver to cover in this one, Jimmy.
Donnie on Denver to cover. Whale Capper, Broncos, Chargers.
Yeah, I think Donnie's got the right side here. I think that was a great call. I didn't make a play on this game, but I agree 100%. The Broncos are playing hard. Like the last 3 games, they absolutely left it on the field. I was shocked that they didn't get a win versus Jacksonville. A penalty kept them from getting their first win of the season against the Bears. So it's a fight. It's a team that has a lot of fight in it, and a team that usually competes well against the Chargers as it is. We know the Chargers don't have any home field advantage. We know the Chargers are beat to hell in terms of injuries and who's not going to be taking the field on Sunday. So this is a good look. I think I would lean Denver, and I would lean under in this game.
Wow, and Viper MB taking it to the next level with Denver money line. Wild.
Ooh.
Okay, we got to speed it up a little bit. Packers, Cowboys. I did make a move on this under already at 47. It's now down to 46.5 in some books. A lot of 47s out there still. Dallas opening up at -3.5. They're now 3 at Pinnacle. They're still 3.5s out there. Two very strong defenses, and we saw the Cowboys offense get exposed last week, and they need Gallup back badly. Devontae Adams, I don't know if you guys know the most recent information on his toe injury, but if Valdez-Scantling has looked good, but if it's just him, Geronimo Allison, Jimmy Graham, I don't see a lot of points in this game, and we're getting a nice high, not high, but 47 is something I think we can get under. So I'm on the under. Packers, Cowboys. Donnie, right side.
Yeah, I'm on the Dallas Cowboys in this game, and if you should have just read the tea. You saw Devontae Adams go down against the Philadelphia Eagles last week. Could barely walk off the field. Didn't practice at all this week, and was listed as out. The Packers put out a statement that he will be out for the football game on Sunday. But you also have a couple injuries for the Dallas Cowboys that sort of raises your eyebrow. You saw Tyron Smith get hurt late in the game that last week. That is a high ankle sprain. He'll be out at least this week. Maybe be eligible to return. La'el Collins, the right tackle, he's also banged up, but he should be able to give it a go. To me, this game just comes down to saying, you know what? I've seen a lot of Green Bay. And Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers, one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. This is as limited as a Green Bay offense as you will ever see. Devontae Adams was legitimately their only weapon on the outside. Versus the Philadelphia Eagles, what do you have, like 10 catches for 180 yards with 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter? And as soon as he left the football game, they didn't score. They're on the goal line. You can throw a fade to Devontae Adams. He can draw double coverage, and everybody's wide open. The minute he gets taken out of the football game, things completely change. It's going to be a tough one going against the Dallas Cowboys this week. I love the fact that the Dallas Cowboys coming in to this game off a loss to the New Orleans Saints, sort of a rebuild at home in the situation. The one thing that we do see is if you can get big on the front line, if you can run the football, you have a distinct advantage against this Green Bay defense. Green Bay does get a little bit extra time to prepare in this football game, but if we're going to say, you know what, if Aaron Rodgers is going to have to go out here and do it all himself, I like the pass rush from the Cowboys. I love the athletic linebacking core, and they do have some guys that can slow down the Green Bay Packers, wide receivers, whoever show up on the field on Sunday. I think it's a little bit too big of a hurdle to get over for Aaron Rodgers. I think the Dallas Cowboys win this football game and get the cover here.
Cowboys to cover, says Donnie right side. Whale Capper, Packers, Cowboys.
We are head to head.
Yeah,
I'm on the Packers to win the game, and it's kind of I get all your points. Devontae Adams is hugely important. If he was out there, I'd feel even better, obviously. But I liked, I look at the drive that ended the first half of that game against the Eagles, where the Eagles were like, we have got to stop the bleeding. Devontae Adams is killing us. They double triple him, and what do you know? Aaron Rodgers goes to Allison like 3 times in a row, finds him for the easy touchdown. They get that score heading into halftime. I think were it not for the Eagles kind of playing for their season and playing up to the moment, I think the Packers get that win. They're 4-0, and people's perception of the team is very different. I thought we saw an emergence of Aaron Rodgers in that Thursday night football game. I think we expect as the season's going on, LaFleur is figuring out what he has in Aaron Rodgers. And granted, you can look at a track record of a team like the Packers through 4 weeks, and you can say LaFleur has made many, many, many mistakes. Right? He is coming up with a great game script for the first 15 plays of the game, and then he's like adjusting his way out of the complete domination in some of these games. And I would expect that what you saw on Thursday Night Football has a blueprint for, we have these weapons. We can do these types of things. We are this dynamic in terms of passing. I shouldn't be running on in these situations, in these spots. Like, he should be learning. I think that you're going to see a much more dynamic attack from Green Bay in this game than some of the portions of the season we've seen to this point. And on the other side of the ball, the Dallas Cowboys defense has generally been lulled to sleep here. Who are the quarterbacks that this team has faced? They've gone against Eli Manning, Case Keenum, Ryan Fitzpatrick and Josh Rosen and Teddy Bridgewater, who we know can do virtually nothing down the field. Like, I have got a general feeling that this Cowboys defense thinks a lot more highly of themselves than they've actually proven to this point. And with Rodgers going up against them and, developing some chemistry with these receivers not named Devontae Adams and the extra time to prepare from Thursday night to Sunday, this is a nice spot here for, the Packers to come out and be aggressive, to be, to put a little bit of pressure on this Cowboys. And what happens if the Packers go up a couple scores in this game? How are the Cowboys coming back? The Cowboys only really have a rushing attack to bring to the table in this spot at all. Cooper's banged up. He's questionable. He'll probably go, but he's not getting the separation that we saw the first couple weeks. Gallup's not going to be out there. They don't have anyone in the passing game who can create separation, and they're going up against a very, very stout defensive backfield from the Packers. So I would expect that Dak looks awful in this game. I would expect that Mike Pettin makes adjustments on defense so that he's got, a plan so that Zeke Elliott doesn't run amok like I think the Eagles largely caught them by surprise with some of the looks they had in the running game. And I would expect Pettin, learns from that and makes adjustments. I'm hanging a lot here on the fact that there were 10 days of preparation here for this Packers coaching staff to make things right after that Eagles game. And I think that there's a lot to take away from that and to grow on and to be very, very, very dangerous and dynamic in this game against the Cowboys. And, the Cowboys injuries aren't being talked about as much as the Devontae Adams injury, and I think they're more significant. I think Tyron Smith is super important to this offensive line. I think, Gallup is super important to the passing attack. And, without those two guys on the field, I think the Cowboys are going to look pretty pedestrian on offense, and I think you might see an Aaron Rodgers classic here on Sunday in the game of the week. I think Aaron Rodgers reminds folks that he's back in the NFL with his new coach in Matt LaFleur.
Woo. Donnie, whale capper, going head to head. I am on the under. We got to be quick here with these last two games. Sunday nighter, Colts, Chiefs. I'll let you guys handle this. We know a ton of injuries with these Colts, and man, do they not look good without Leonard and Hooker in the lineup. No T.Y. Hilton, and then Marlon Mack leaves in that Week 4 loss to the Raiders. I mean, they're banged up, and now they're 11-point dogs at Kansas City, at Arrowhead. Total opens at 57, now 56. Donnie, right side, Colts, Chiefs.
Yeah, it's funny. You look at that line and say, oh, my God, it's up to 11. What could be going on here? Look, if T.Y. Hilton doesn't play in this game, and now we see the injuries that doesn't seem like Indianapolis is really coming back from, and you're seeing the healthier version of the Kansas City Chiefs, this just looks like it might be a carbon copy of the playoff game last week. Earlier in the week, I was trying to say, you know what? If we get Leonard back at linebacker, the quarterback on defense, tackle machine, okay, I could see it happen here. If we get T.Y. Hilton, if he practices midweek, he's going to be healthy in this one. They should be able to stay under the number. This is a tough one. I went from, you know what? I really think I want to get on Indianapolis getting to double digits to I don't think I want to. I just want to stay as far away from as I can for this game. This has blowout now written all over it for the Kansas City Chiefs at home on Sunday night. I'm going to stay away, and I'm certainly not going to take it over at 56 if I think one side's banged up on offense, as is the Indianapolis Colts. Could have been a fun game to have if the Colts came in a little bit more healthy, but obviously that's why that line jumps from 9 to 11. They're banged up, and I'm not going to take them.
I've got no move on this game. Whale capper, you, Colts, Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm going to sweat out an under here. This is going to be tough, man. I am looking for a play-up spot here for the Colts offensive line. I think that they have to take it upon themselves to really dictate the first half of this game, to play a little bit of keep away, to keep Mahomes from kind of generating a little bit of chemistry with his wide receiving core, to keep the crowd out of it a bit. I would expect that the first half feels a little slow, feels a little grindy. You see some long drives by the Colts where they're primarily doing it through the ground, and they're not asking Jacoby Brissett to really throw the ball down the field, but they're eating up clock, and you just see, wow, the first quarter's gone, and Pat Mahomes has only thrown 3 passes. Like, that's the kind of game I'm hoping for here. I don't think that there's a great chance for the Colts to be scoring touchdowns when they get in the red zone. They don't have any, good dynamic matchups. This is not a good spot for them, and it probably does turn out to be a blowout. I'm just looking for a blowout like 35-10, more so than I am a blowout like 44-20. So I'm on under 55.5 here. I sold it down because I think this is going to be a little bit of Colts come in with the game plan to play field control, ball control, and keep away here. And that's what you got to do against Pat Mahomes, and Frank Reich's a smart man, so hopefully that's what he goes in with.
Wow, Robert Weimer says heavy sweat spot on Sunday night for the Whale. You may sweat it. You may sweat down to be a sailfish on this one. Okay, we have Browns and Niners Monday night, last game on the card. I want the Niners at 3.5. Guru Sportsbet scared me on my morning show. He thinks this is his classic letdown spot for the Niners, and he's a Bay Area guy. I like the Niners. I don't like seeing it at 4. I do think that the Browns at 4 will seem appealing to a lot of bettors. I'm hoping that it goes back down to 3.5. I know that Flash is on the under, but I'm finding the over more appealing. The more guys I hear are on the over. Shanahan with this extra week to prepare, and then this Browns being so bad at rush defense, and the Niners being so good rushing the ball. Donnie, RightSide, we got to keep this tight. Browns-Niners.
Yeah, we'll keep it quick. A letdown spot. I actually would have flipped that over to the Cleveland Browns. You're talking about a team that was staving away the Jackals a week ago. If they would have took a loss, they would, Baker Mayfield would have been running for his life from the press, and Freddie Kitchens would have been cursing, and people's jobs would have been on the line. They sort of got that away, and that was a road game they put a ton into. Now you're going to fly out to the West Coast and go, out of conference and play the 49ers that are sitting there rested and ready with an extra week to prepare. I like the 49ers in this football game. I think the letdown because of man, thank God we didn't have to answer the press this week. That's on the Cleveland Browns. I like the San Francisco 49ers here.
I like the Niners too. I like the Niners too. I wish I got on at 3.5. I'm also interested in the over. Donnie, RightSide, could you give me we got to put a bow on this, but what do you think about this over?
Over-under, I would stay away from this game. I really like the way the Cleveland Browns are playing defense in this one. I think the pass rush from the 49ers can get after Cleveland. I think it might slow down a little bit. I would lean on the under as opposed to the over here. Interesting.
Okay. Whale Capper, Browns, Niners.
Yeah, this sets up great for the Niners to get their 4th win of the season. I bet the over personally. I wouldn't lay 4 with the Niners, but I do like the likelihood that this is a back and forth scoring kind of game, just like we saw last night with Thursday Night Football. Both teams match up well in terms of being able to put pressure on their opponent offensively. I like the adjustments that the Browns made using more 12 personnel instead of 11. That was huge for them, getting Baker Mayfield a little bit more time and helping establish their run game a little bit. That should do wonders in the Bay Area, and I think this game has 47 points as a minimum. So 46.5 was an easy overlook for me, and I would expect we see a pretty entertaining Monday Night Football game.
I'm very, very, very excited. We will be going live, just like the last 2 weeks, doing live betting with the stars of the Sports Keg this Monday night for Browns Niners. And I'm going to be pumped.
The stars.
I love it. I'm very
betting
excited.
With the stars.
I'm very excited about this spot. All right, Rafa, let's take a look at Donnie RightSide's action this coming weekend in NFL football. There it is. Jaguars plus 3.5. The over 43.5. Mini Giants. Broncos plus 6.5. Baltimore Pitt over 44. Cowboys minus 3.5. And Bears minus 5. There it is. Donnie RightSide's action. Let's see Whale Capper's action. And there's two big money lines on it. You guys will find this as exciting as I do. There it is. Plus 161 with the Packers. Plus 203 with the Raiders. Very, very exciting action from the Whale Capper, who's hit 12 of his last 14 bets. And then I've only got 2 spots on the board for myself. I've only have 2 looks on it. Can you pop up my 2 games? And more will be coming. More will be coming soon, but those are my only 2 looks at this point. I can only pray I'll be wearing this jersey come Tuesday with another winning week on the wings of Warren Moon. What a treat it is to roll with you guys. We have no show without these great cappers in the chat. Donnie RightSide, any last words to these great guys that we roll with?
Hey, yeah, thanks for coming in here. Close to 200 in the chat box. It's always a lot of fun. I know Jimmy gets a lot of support on his other shows as well. So we're racking up the views here on SBRodds.com and also SportsbookReview.com. I'm looking forward to the weekend. Fridays get me energized. I do more shows than any time during the week on Fridays, and I can't wait to get started for the weekend. We'll be able to recap it back on Tuesday. A lot of fun ahead. Let's put some wins together out there.
Oh, I need those wins desperately. Desperately, Donnie. I need them so badly. Whale Capper on a heater. 12 of his last 14 cashes. Can he keep it rolling? That's the question. And will I be wearing this Warren Moon jersey when we come back? Whale Capper, any final thoughts for these great cappers in the chat?
Yeah, I guess it's important to remember anytime you go 12-2 to remember you could go 2-12. Like regression could be coming for me, and if the market is any indicator this week is going to be a tough one. So I'm prepared to go to war though, and I like the way that this NFL season is shaping up. We got a great thing going here. We appreciate you guys all tuning in and chatting it up while we break down these games. And best of luck in Week 5.
Best of luck in week 5. Scared of regression. Don't answer. If the doorbell rings, Whale Capper, do not answer it under any circumstances. Stay hot, please. We need somebody. I remember when I was falling apart last year in MLB. Thankfully, P. Loshak was having a big year. Whale Capper, we need you to keep winning badly. Thank you guys so much on behalf of Donnie, RightSide, Whale Cap, myself, everybody SBR. We truly have no show without you guys. Keith Sadler, Topset, Comic Ricky, Fat Fist, Eddie Euler, TJ Parks, Nico, Robert Weimer. I wish I could say all your names because you mean so much to us. Thank you for all the insight, the humor, and just the excitement that you bring to the show. We'll see you guys very soon. I have a late show in 7 minutes. So I have a late show. I'll catch you guys very soon. Thank you guys so much for watching.